The audacity. The absolute disrespect that we just witnessed on Friday Night SmackDown has left the entire WWE universe in complete shock, and frankly, it should have you absolutely furious. While Roman Reigns has been parading around claiming he's the tribal chief, the head of the table, the so-called face of WWE, Brock Lesnar just walked back into his house and reminded everyone who the real beast is in this company. But here's what's got me absolutely livid. And what should have every single one of you hitting that comment section right now? The way WWE has been booking this entire situation is a complete slap in the face to everything we know about professional wrestling hierarchy. For months, we've watched Roman Reigns get handed opportunity after opportunity, championship reign after championship reign, while legitimate monsters like Brock Lesnar have been sitting on the sidelines. And don't you dare come at me with that Roman earned his spot nonsense. Because what we witnessed on SmackDown wasn't just a return, it was a reckoning. When Brock's music hit and that familiar smirk spread across his face, you could see the color drain from Roman's expression faster than his credibility during his failed babyface run. The message was crystal clear, and it sent shockwaves through not just the WWE universe, but through the entire locker room. Brock didn't need to cut some 20-minute promo filled with catchphrases and corporate buzzwords. He didn't need Paul Heyman stuttering through some overly rehearsed speech. All it took was that look, that predatory stare that reminded everyone in that arena and everyone watching at home that there's only one legitimate final boss in WWE, and his name is Brock Lesnar. But here's where this gets absolutely infuriating, and I need you to tell me in the comments if you're seeing what I'm seeing. The WWE commentary team, Michael Cole, Wade Barrett, and the rest of that announce booth, they had the nerve to act surprised. Like they haven't been watching the same product we have for the past 2 years. Like they haven't seen Roman Reigns stumble through main event after main event while Brock Lesnar has been out there conquering legitimate competition in legitimate combat sports. The warning that Brock sent wasn't just to Roman Reigns, it was to this entire company that's been living in Fantasyland, pretending that part-time performers and manufactured characters can somehow measure up to a legitimate beast who's conquered every mountain there is to conquer in professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. And can we talk about the timing? Because this wasn't some random surprise return thrown together by creative at the last minute. This was calculated, methodical, surgical. Brock Lesnar waited until Roman Reigns was at his most comfortable, at his most confident, surrounded by his little bloodline security blanket, before walking out there and reminding him that all the family backing in the world doesn't matter when you're standing across from a genetic freak who's forgotten more about intensity than Roman will ever learn. The body language told the entire story. Roman's shoulders tensed up, his breathing got heavier, and for the first time in months, we saw genuine concern in the eyes of the so-called tribal chief. Because deep down, Roman knows what every single person in that arena knows, what every person watching this video knows. When it comes to Brock Lesnar, there is no head of any table. There's only the beast, and everyone else fighting for scraps. But what's really got my blood boiling is how WWE Creative has been handling this entire situation leading up to this moment. They've been feeding us this narrative that Roman Reigns is some unstoppable force, some once-in-a-generation talent, while completely ignoring the elephant in the room, that Brock Lesnar exists in a completely different stratosphere of credibility and legitimacy. And before you keyboard warriors start typing about entertainment value and storytelling, let me stop you right there. Because what we witnessed on SmackDown wasn't entertainment, it was a reality check. It was Brock Lesnar reminding not just Roman Reigns, but the entire WWE universe, that there are levels to this business, and he operates on a level that most superstars can't even comprehend. The silence in that arena was deafening. You could literally hear a pin drop when Brock's music hit, and that wasn't because the crowd was confused or disinterested, it was because everyone in that building knew they were witnessing something significant. They knew they were watching the real hierarchy of WWE reassert itself. And let's be completely honest about Roman's reaction, because this is where it gets really interesting. The guy who's been walking around with his chest puffed out for the past 2 years suddenly looked like he'd seen a ghost. His usual cocky demeanor evaporated faster than his Universal Championship reign relevance. Because when you're face to face with Brock Lesnar, all that manufactured confidence crumbles like a house of cards. The warning wasn't even verbal, it was primal. It was one apex predator acknowledging another's territory, except in this case, there's only one apex predator, and his name is Brock Lesnar. Roman might have the fancy entrance music, the elaborate family storylines, and the corporate backing, but none of that matters when you're standing across from someone who's legitimately conquered every challenge put in front of him. And here's what's really going to make your head spin: this isn't even about championships or storylines anymore. This is about respect. This is about acknowledging that some people are just built different, operate on different frequencies, and exist in different dimensions of intensity and capability. Brock Lesnar isn't just returning to WWE, he's returning to reclaim what was never actually his to lose. The way Brock carried himself during that confrontation was absolutely masterful. No wasted motion, no unnecessary theatrics, just pure, concentrated menace. Every step he took toward Roman was calculated, every expression on his face told a story, and every second of silence spoke louder than any scripted promo could have. But what's got me absolutely furious with WWE Creative is how they've allowed this situation to develop. They've spent years building up Roman Reigns as this unstoppable force, feeding him victory after victory over legitimate competition, only to have Brock Lesnar walk back in and expose the entire house of cards with nothing more than his presence. And don't even get me started on Paul Heyman's role in all of this. The man who spent years as Brock's advocate, who understood better than anyone what kind of monster he was representing, somehow convinced himself and the WWE Universe that Roman Reigns could fill those shoes. The disrespect to everything Heyman built with Brock is absolutely staggering. The chilling part of this warning isn't what Brock said, it's what he didn't say. It's the understanding that words are completely unnecessary when you're dealing with someone who operates on pure instinct and legitimate danger. Roman Reigns can cut all the promos he wants, surround himself with all the family members he needs, but when push comes to shove, none of that matters against the beast incarnate. What we witnessed was a masterclass in psychological warfare. Brock didn't need to physically attack Roman, the threat of what he's capable of was more than enough to send that message. The way Roman's entire demeanor changed, the way his voice cracked when he finally tried to respond, told us everything we needed to know about who's really in control here. And this is where WWE Creative needs to wake up and smell the coffee. You can't manufacture the kind of legitimate intimidation factor that Brock Lesnar brings to the table. You can't script the kind of authentic intensity that makes grown men question their life choices. That's something you're either born with or you're not, and Roman Reigns simply isn't. The most infuriating part is watching WWE try to convince us that this is some kind of equal playing field. That Roman Reigns, with all his family backing and corporate support, somehow measures up to a guy who's conquered UFC heavyweights and NCAA Division I wrestling. The audacity of that comparison should have every legitimate wrestling fan absolutely outraged. But here's the real kicker that should have you absolutely livid. This confrontation exposed everything that's been wrong with WWE's main event scene for the past several years. While they've been force-feeding us manufactured storylines and artificial drama, there's been a legitimate monster waiting in the wings, ready to remind everyone what real intensity looks like. The warning Brock sent wasn't just about future matches or championship opportunities, it was about reality. It was about the fundamental truth that some people are just genetically, mentally, and physically superior, and no amount of creative writing or family storylines can change that basic fact. So tell me in the comments, are you as furious as I am about how WWE has been handling this situation? Are you ready to see Roman Reigns finally face some legitimate competition that can't be overcome with family interference and referee assistance? Because what we witnessed on SmackDown was just the beginning of what promises to be an absolutely brutal reckoning. The beast is back, the warning has been sent, and Roman Reigns better hope that all those years of protected booking have prepared him for what's coming next. Because when Brock Lesnar sets his sights on you, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, and absolutely no mercy.